Welcome. This is my first review on a vlog of my My Monthly Hero December 2017 kit. It's a beautiful Arabian Night theme. So let's go through what is in the kit. For the stamps, you get a man and a woman, camel, lanterns, pillow, vases, flying carpet, as well as string for your things. You also get beautiful silhouettes as their Hera theme, sand dunes, as well as some beautiful sentiments. You also get some wonderful dies, window die, as well as your lantern dies, the die for your man, Arabian man and woman, palm tree, the oasis, the vases, the camel, as well as the pillows. These dies all fit on these images very beautifully. The one thing I'm a little disappointed with is that there wasn't a die for the flying carpet, as much as I really thought that would have been very nice. After all the other images have a corresponding die, just not the carpet. So for that, even majority of the time, we'll either have to mask or fussy cut. There also wasn't one for the sand dunes, which I kind of wish there was, because it would have been nice to do with the silhouettes if you wanted to prop them up. So that's one too. You might have to stamp on mask and fussy cut. Also with the kit, you get a beautiful stencil, as well as 5 ink cubes. First one's going to be sapphire, tiger's eye, ruby, teal topaz, and pink tourmaline. You also get some beautiful glitter gems. A lot of people like to use the backdrops that are included with their kit. This one has a sunset theme as well as a Moroccan design on the back. On to the first panel. I was inspired, of course, by the stencil. I started with the tiger's eye, which I sponged on with my dauber. And I just lightly sponged it on top of the stencil. I was inspired by some of the bright colors and pretty, beautiful, bright, almost jewel tones that were in this kit. After that, I started with the pink tourmaline. One fun thing about these colors is they're jewel tones. They're very bright, and I love this ink for this technique. Stamping I find is a little watery, but for blending, it blends beautifully. And then after I'm done with this pink tourmaline, I'm going to go in with I believe it was, oh no, that was ruby. This is going to be the pink tourmaline. As I change my sponges, it's always good to change your sponges when you're doing this technique. I like to keep my sponges underneath my ink pads. That way I always know I have the right color sponge for the right ink. Next, I'm going to go in with the teal topaz. I loved how the contrast of these colors went together. It made this panel look very, very bright and beautiful. And the last color I'm adding, of course, is going to be the sapphire. After you're done, I, of course, lifted the stencil right off. And you can just see the white contrast with the colors. It's very pretty. For this next panel, I decided I'm going to take out my Distress Oxides.
Ranger products are sometimes some might be perfect, especially some of the tin holes. So the first one I started with was I believe it was spiced marmalade. Or no. Then I decided, as I was thinking about the colors I wanted to go in next, I decided let's go in with the cracked pistachio. Oops, missing dauber there. This one, I feel like it comes on really light anyway, so I really saturated the sponge as much as I could, and I even dabbed it a little bit. It's not just, rubbed it over, but literally dabbed so that I could get that color a little bit darker. The next color I decided to go in with is I believe it was the broken china. I figured this panel would have a little bit of a lighter look. It would have the same kind of jewel tone colors, but a lot lighter than the previous one with the Hero Arts. Next is the Wilted Violet. Last color I decided to go with would be the Worn Lipstick. I still try to keep in the pinks, the purples, and the blues, greens, and golds. Almost the same colors that came with the kit. Like before, you can see the contrast with the white on that. But you kind of got a little bit of a lighter tone. Now the fun thing about the distress inks is you can add water. So I spritz it with my glitter water spritz that I make with my Perfect Pearls and water in my mister. And I just let that react a little bit. As I was waiting for the reaction, I decided to daub it down, but I felt like it still didn't show enough of the difference. So I gave it a couple more spritzes, and then finally I was like, wait a minute, let's just try some saturated water, which, as you can see, I started sprinkling it on there. Distress oxides really react well with water. They literally give it almost a chalky feel, which is so nice if you want kind of a muted feel. They blend beautifully. I mean, I love the regular distress inks, but these I feel blend 10 times better than the regular distress inks. Here I am trying to make sure I got it to where I want it. For this next panel, I just used my distress oxide inks right onto the stencil. I started with the Fossilized Amber, followed by Worn Lipstick. And I did this on top of white paper because I really do want to keep my craft mat clean so that I didn't get any the ink residue on my panel when I was done. Now I'm going in with the Wilted Violet. Everything I've been doing, my stuff on today has been Artist Loft watercolor paper. You can get that over at Michael's. I feel that the panels are a lot smoother. It doesn't have that roughed edge like you do with most watercolor papers. Now I'm just daubing it up with some of the broken china. I just spritzed down that stencil with some water, removed it off the white paper, laid it on my craft mat. And now I'm going to lay my watercolor paper right on top of my stencil. I'm going to go over this with my brayer. That way I can press the stencil into this evenly. it gives a nice reverse stencil effect to the panel, which is very pretty and nice. And of course, make sure you clean your stencil because you don't want this residue going onto your next piece because it's very wet. For this next panel, I decided to do just a light yellow golden texture on it. So I used the Oxide amber over it, and I didn't go all over the stencil, just in certain spots, just to give it some light, the contrast of the yellow and the white. You'll see why I did this in a little bit when I bring in the other items I'm going to put on this panel, but it gave a nice effect. The next panel, I wanted to do almost a sunset feel. So I started in with my Distress Oxides, and I'm just rubbing it into the stencil in one area. And I came in with some yellow with the Oxide amber after that one as a stick. But then I decided I felt it was still a little too light. So I came back to my Hero Arts and I decided let's use these Hero Arts. So here you see me bringing out the ruby. Like I said, these colors are very vibrant. So it gave me that effect that I was actually more closer looking to. Next I came in with the sapphire, and there is the pink tourmaline. I decided to lay out all my colors so that I can grab them quickly. So here's the pink tourmaline going in. And I am just dabbing those in, going over the ruby, trying to blend it. Then I realized I put my tape a little too far down. So I'm going to move it up just a tad bit so I can get to that corner. And now I'm going in with the sapphire. And as you see, it's kind of giving that dark glow. And I also decided, hey, why not? Let's go around it a little bit further to balance it out. And then I said, let's get the tiger's eye in because you know what? That yellow was very light down there and I felt it needed to be more vibrant. And of course I extended it down a little bit further because I was changed my mind. I think I want to go down a little further because for what I think I'm going to do with this panel, I didn't want that much white on the bottom. So I blended in some more of the colors just to extend it. Oh, there's the effect of that. Now for this next panel, I once again went after my Hero Arts, but this time I'm going to freeform. I'm not using the stencil, I'm just going to go directly on the paper with my daubers. So here comes the tiger's eye once again. You're going to notice that I'm kind of doing a fun galaxy theme. So the next color I'm going for, of course, is the pink tourmaline. I think. Oh, no, it was a ruby. I decided to go for the ruby. That's right. I'm just going around that yellow just to give it that vibrant, almost red color like a sunset. Now I'm going for the pink tourmaline. And the pink tourmaline kind of deceitful. I think it's more of like a purple than a pink, but it's just so pretty. I'm just spreading that around. Next, I'm going to go in. Oops, nope. I decided to go in with the teal topaz. And I seem to have a case of the rolling sponges today. And last I came in with the sapphire, and I really blended it into all the colors, kind of giving it that galaxy look. The galaxy look is really fun. Sometimes it's perfect for sunsets and for vibrant colored backgrounds. I love doing them. And you know what's fun is you can go totally crazy and it looks totally like a hot mess. And then when you put in that dark color and just cover it all, it just ties it all together and the panel comes out gorgeous. And here I am spritzing it with some of my glitter spray to give it that effect. Now for this next panel, I said bye-bye to the blues. We're going to just go for sunset colors. So once again, I'm starting with the tiger's eye. And instead of going portrait, I decided to go more a landscape design. Sorry if some of this is a little off screen. I kind of forgot apparently where my camera was. But as I'm pulling this topaz in, I'm just spreading it out, putting as much as I can in there. So next I'm going to go back to the ruby, just like I did in the other panel. And I'm just going around that tiger's eye. And then spreading it in. Next comes the pink topaz. Pink tourmaline, not pink topaz. And I'm just spreading that in. And with this layer, I also made sure I got a little darker around the edges because honestly, it's going to be darker there than it's going to be in the center. It also makes it go a little bit more evenly. Though I do have to say, like I said earlier, I don't really like the Hero Arts for stamping, but for blending, they are gorgeous. So definitely something for you to think about when you're getting these kits. If you don't want to stamp with these inks, I find they stain my stamps, as well as they usually are very juicy and wet.
On the next panel, we are going to take some white watercolor paper. This style I wanted to do a window background for, so I took my window die and I marked the outer limits of them. So that way I knew exactly how far I wanted to do my blending, because I didn't want to blend too far over or be off center or whatever, So I marked it first. And of course I'm going to go with the sunset colors again, which would be the tiger's eye, the ruby, and the pink tourmaline. So I started going from the bottom of the center and working my way in and out. Next, of course, we're going in with the ruby. The nice thing is I really don't have to care how blended it is on the ends, because that's going to end up being covered by the top layer. So here I am going in with the pink tourmaline, just going around the top of it, around the sides, just to blend it in. I decided to add a little bit more color. I didn't feel like I was completely blended through as much as I wanted. When it was done, I got a nice little sunset window theme. I liked those panels that I did, so I did 2 of each. That way, I could do duplicates in different designs. This concludes part 1 of my video. Stay tuned for part 2 where we put together the cards. Thanks for watching and make sure to like and subscribe.